I'm Brian Cannon, this is Microdot.
Right, welcome Brian Cannon to the Voices of the Ceremony at GlassOnion Radio. Like, this is a new podcast that I've just selected these people that I would love to talk to, and you are exactly that. Like, you've inspired me and millions of other people around the world, not just this country, especially, like, everyone's got your artwork in their house, let's be honest. If anyone that's anybody, they'll have definitely maybe What's the Story or Storm in Heaven, you know. And to me, that's so important to be able to sit here and talk to you. So what an honor. So thank you for coming on to the show today.
Thanks for asking me.
We're going to deep dive a little bit into, obviously, everything that's happened. I won't go all the way back to, like, your younger years and, like, what's going on right now. Like, let's just go right to everything that you've done, which is super important. Obviously, I know that you was inspired by your dad that was an illustrator, wasn't he?
No, my dad wasn't an illustrator. That was kind of the point, really. My dad was, he was a coal miner in his early years.
But he never went on to do it, did he?
He wanted to be an illustrator. He was remarkably talented, far better illustrator than me. And he never got the chance because, you know, he grew up in a remarkably poor family in Wigan. Like, you know, his family shared a 2-up, 2-down house with another family. That's how poor they were. And he was born in 1925. So, you know, there wasn't much call for illustrators in Wigan just in the 1930s and 40s from a background like his. Especially when the Second World War broke out, he ended up working in a coal mine. So he never got the chance to do it. So he encouraged me to draw when he saw that I had a natural talent for it as a kid. And he encouraged me to do it. And I went to a kind of school whereby arts, and I'm sure this is the case still today, perhaps hopefully not as much, that art was like you chose art if you weren't good at anything else, you know. Because in the third year at our school, you had to choose between art or German. What a bizarre choice. I chose art, obviously. I mean, you know, I don't know how the German guys got on, but a lot of people wanted to do art, and the person, oh, no, you can't do art. You never make a living out of that. You've got to learn language. But my mum and dad were like, yeah, fine, yeah, that's cool. You can do that. So I was always encouraged to do it. And my mother as well. My mother doesn't get enough praise in this story because I'd just gone about my dad and the drawing bit, but my mum instilled upon me just the fact that, you know, if you put your mind to it, you really could achieve whatever you wanted, and you should follow your dreams and go for it. You know, because I come from, you know, classic, typical 1970s Northern England working class family. None of us had ever been to college before. None of us had done anything with the art. You know, I had no contacts in music, art, nothing. So I was starting from ground zero, really. So yeah, just me mum and dad were a massive influence on me, the pair of them.
I've heard that, yeah. I've heard that the pair of them were super supportive. Like, I was just going to go on to say, obviously, I knew your dad was a coal miner, but he was an illustrator, but he didn't get the chance. So what he did with you, obviously, what you've just said, is they were super supportive in, like, when they see that your talent. And how did it feel to go to, like, university if that wasn't really an option for a lot of people?
Well, it was actually this was in. I'll tell you how long ago this was. I say long ago. It was mid-80s, right? And this was before. I mean, everybody goes to college these days, you know, and every college is called a university. I went to Leeds Polytechnic. Leeds,
yeah,
right, which is now Leeds Summit or other university, right? And the mad thing is, if you think about it, working class kids from a background like mine, on the whole, didn't do degrees, certainly didn't do arts-based degrees, or not very often. But the mad thing is, it was all free.
Yeah. Yeah, that is important as well.
Listen to there was no tuition fees at all. The course was entirely free. I didn't have to get a student loan to fund.
That's mad.
You got a grant because I came from a low income family. I got a grant, and you got your grant for the 10 weeks of the term, and I got 700 quid a term, £70 a week, 30 odd years ago. You could
Amazing.
live, and in the summer holidays, you could sign on. So it was. And yet, very few working class kids took this up. Nowadays, it costs you a fucking arm. Sorry, am I allowed to swear? Is that no?
Of course you are, yeah.
Now it costs you an arm and a fucking leg to do it. Everybody gets in hook to go to college because they fear that if they don't have a degree, they'll never get on in life. Yet because everybody's at it, it devalues the whole thing, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So yeah, it was unusual. I was very much in the minority. My group of friends, people I went to school with that actually went on to do a degree, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great experience. I was 19. I moved away from my parents' house for the first time. I went to Leeds, and I really enjoyed it. And I didn't necessarily learn that much. I didn't think it was that good a course, to be honest. And I got threatened with expulsion on a number of occasions because I wasn't necessarily into the idea of designing fish finger packets, which is what they wanted me to do.
I was going to say that. Yeah, you was asked to design like fish finger packets and toothpaste or whatever it was, and
yeah.
But like, I think that's a super important point you've just made there, because obviously tuition education, it should be a right of birth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you're paying £90,000 plus to go and learn something, or just have the right to go and do that. But just talking about that, it's just made me think of another question actually. I believe, like, because I do this, like I interview a few people, and it seems to be there's a lot of people from that era that took this sort of stuff really shit up, like really seriously, and really made a difference, especially from like up north as well. Mm-hmm. And do you think it is because of the working class background? I mean, like they say it in music with like, the Smiths or Oasis or whatever, there was fuck all to do, so we really honed in on what we wanted to do when we had an opportunity. Do you think this is the same with you guys? Because like I'm talking to do you know James Brown from Loaded magazine?
Yeah, I do. I know James well. Yeah,
he's from up north, and like this is in the 90s as well. Like, made a massive difference. These people, it's a generational thing, maybe.
I'll tell you what it was. Basically, we were all that age group. If you think of it, we were all children of punk.
Yeah.
Like, this is where it all started for me, because up until punk coming, this is fucking mega important. Punk rock was as important as the birth of rock and roll itself, only 20 years later, if you like, because up until that point, the music industry was controlled by major companies, and they controlled the whole business, basically. And what punk did was it demystified the whole process and allowed working class kids like myself to form their own bands, to put their own records out, to design their own graphics, to design their own clothes, to get into hairdressing, just massive creative explosion. And what punk did was it basically gave me the green light. I thought, wow, I can get involved with this. Whereas before that, there was like a barrier almost there that you couldn't do this DIY thing. So the 90s for me was just kids who were, like Noel, myself, James, who you've just mentioned. There's loads of us who all happened to be sort of early teens, perhaps even a bit younger at the punk time, who had then come of age and were working age, like sort of mid to late 20s. I started working with the Verve in 91. I was 25.
Yeah.
So, and if you zoom back, when Nevermind the Bollocks came out, I was 11. So that's when the seed was planted. So we were all disciples of punk.
I always hear this. I mean, I know you're a massive Buzzcocks fan and a massive Sex Pistols fan, and obviously Jamie Reed done the artwork, and that inspired you also.
Yeah.
I think that Punkett's got a lot to answer for, because not only, like, I always say with the 90s, it's a famous coin. I don't know who said it. It might have been James himself. In the 90s, what if happened? Did you feel that that is exactly the same as what happened with punk? Like, what if, and then they just done it?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, there's loads of young people who had no right to, nobody's got any right to do it, but, who just had this blind belief that it was going to happen. I set out to design record sleeves, right? I left college in 1988 and I moved straight to London. And I just thought, this is what I'm going to do. And I was told by everybody I couldn't do it. Literally, it's impossible. You've got no equipment, because you've got to bear in mind, it's not like nowadays. Everybody's got a laptop. Everybody's a fucking graphic designer all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The equipment required to do the job costs hundreds of thousands of pounds. So I moved to London with no equipment, no contacts, no nothing, with this blind faith that I was going to do it. And I don't know where that came from. And I don't know why I thought I could do it, because I'd never actually done it before, obviously. But I just knew I could. And I just thought, the reason I did it, I succeeded in the end was, well, they had a few lucky breaks, but you make your own luck, I think, is because I didn't have a plan B. There was no plan B. It was like, this is what I was doing. I moved to London and I starved for a couple of years, and my mum was literally sending me food parcels because.
No way. No, really.
Literally. And my mother, who was my greatest supporter, who would back me up no matter what, even she said, because this was in the days, right? If you had a degree, you could get a job, a decent job, especially if it was in a degree that was something like ultimately very employable, like graphic design, like I had. And she's like, you've got a degree, why don't you get a job? Oh, no, don't you give up on me now. But just at that point, I met Richard Ashcroft and it all took off. So we're lucky, really.
But you did meet Richard Ashcroft. I'm sure, I mean, I've heard like some of the first times you did met him, you said that he was always around, he was at a party, and he got a record thing, and then things went away, and then you bumped into him in a petrol garage.
Right, yeah, 6 o'clock in the morning, going for a pint of milk. Yeah.
That's mad. Like, I mean, Richard Ashcroft is one of my absolute heroes. I mean, I don't like to keep heroes, but
yeah.
I went to see him a few years back at the Palladium, and I was like three rows from the front. I've seen him plenty of times, and every time I see him, I just get so emotional. It's just so great. It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, he's just in the background there.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely iconic. I mean, when I was a young man and I saw that, it's just right. So where did you, I mean, because your artwork is very recognizable amongst, billions of artists. You can always go, oh, that's Brian.
Yeah.
So where did that come from? Is it just not just your style, but like, do you think these ideas up? You're a graphic designer.
Yeah. That was it. I mean, I would regard myself more as a photographer these days. The thing is, back in the day, you had to choose one or the other, because, how can I put it? You either studied graphic design, or you were a printmaker, or you were a painter, or you were a photographer, because none of it was digital. So there was a real craft to be learned. You couldn't go and do everything like they do these days. I spend more time taking photographs and graphic designing these days. So I don't necessarily regard myself as a graphic designer. What I wanted to do was design record sleeves, right, from start to finish. But because I didn't have, I wasn't trained as a photographer, I used to commission photographers back in the day. I don't anymore. I do all my own photography. But
I love that. I love the fact that you just you do that now.
Yeah, I do it all myself now. I have done for quite a while, but where did it all come from? People often liken my work to that of hypnosis. Yep. Well, which I find very flattering, and people obviously then people say, "Oh, you're obviously influenced by them." Well, no, not that I don't think the work's great. I think it's absolutely amazing, best of all time. But I wasn't aware of their work because I was a punk rocker. You see, I wasn't into Pink Floyd or Led Zepp. I am now, but I didn't study those sleeves. Oh, wow, this is what I want to do. I totally punk rock. It was all sort of, photocopying stuff, collages, that kind of gig. But I don't know. I do not know where I made it up in my brain. It just came something. I don't know where it came from.
It's astounding. Like when you look at all your work, I mean, I've just dug out some props here. When you look at your work, it is so identifiable, and that is a true artist, and you have to be proud of that.
I'm made up. I look back on it now. I have to sometimes pinch myself because I look at that body of work that, wow, one guy did all of that. Obviously I say one guy, there was a team of us and there's other people involved as well, but it's effectively my work that runs throughout all that catalogue of work. And yeah, I'm very, very proud of it. It's not finished yet. I'm still going. I've still got, still think the best stuff's in me. Some of the stuff I've done recently, I think is as good as anything I've ever done.
Absolutely. You've done the Lathams.
Yeah.
That is identifiable yet again. I was just going to ask because obviously you do like your YouTube shows, and you've got the shop in Kendal and Manchester. I know you've got one in the plan for like London potentially.
Go on.
I was just going to ask, have you ever thought about maybe doing like a documentary about like your career?
Well, several people have asked, and there's this kind of somebody's kicking one around at the minute, but people always ask me, why don't you write a book? Well, my answer to both of the questions is because it isn't finished yet. It's like I'm still going. I'm still going. I'll tell you what, though. I mean, not that I'm like complaining about getting old, but I will be 60 next year.
Amazing.
Yeah, right. And I do find myself, I'm just not as, I used to work all day, every day and work till midnight. I can't do it in the evening. I'm slowing down a wee bit, is what I'm saying. So, but I'm still working, and I felt that 60 thing, I doesn't even, I'm just slowing down a bit. I have noticed that, but I'll never give up. I'll never stop working, because if I have a few days off, me and the missus went to Ibiza for her birthday in October.
Yeah.
Beautiful place. We had overlooking San Antonio Bay. 3 days in, I was done. I was ready for coming home. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've just got to go back to work. And when I just can't do it, Christmas, day after Boxing Day, I was back in the office on my own, just doing stuff. And it's what I do. And I just don't like sitting about doing nothing. So I guess what the plan is for the future is to do, is never to give up, but just at the minute, it's a night. I'm in there every day because I'm running a business and I've got employees, and I haven't got enough money to. I'm not a wealthy guy, I'm not. I still have to work, obviously, but I'd like to wind it down a bit in the future. But I'll never give up working. I'll always work so long as I'm physically able to do it and mentally able to do it. But
okay. So you don't have like a plan to be like, right, I'm going to get to here and then I'm going to disappear into the sunset and that be that?
Well, I might well do, but I'll still be working off in the sunset. So I'll still be taking pictures or coming up with stuff. I'll never stop doing it because I enjoy it.
Is it never like?
It's never been about the money either. I mean, I work because I need to work because I need to pay the bills, obviously, but it has never been about the money. So
that's the best. I think that's the most honest way to be with everything. I mean, I don't earn a penny out of what I do. I spend money on what I do because I love it, because it's passion. Mm-hmm. And what I was just going to say, do you think that it's so personal to you, like everything you do, that it's not work anymore? It's kind of like it's part of you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I've been out today doing some bits and bobs and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And well, I'll give you an example about why it's not about the money. And I've mentioned, I'm sorry if I'm giving you quotes that might have been heard before, but this is kind of, again, this is a central important point. Back in the 90s, I got noticed and I got loads of work and I exploded effectively in the 90s. I was working with everybody because I operated differently to all the other designers or design agencies. Namely, I did not put a clock on the budget. And what I mean by that is, everybody else, it seems, would have been, let's work with some easy numbers. Say, for argument's sake, there was £1,000 budget 20 odd years ago, and you were charging £50 an hour. They would allocate 20 hours to the job, deliver it. I never worked like that. I keep going until it was finished, until I was happy with it. And if that meant going spending 3 or 4 days scouting a location. I mean, the Verve's first album, I probably ended up getting paid about 50 pence an hour for doing that. You know, I spent months doing it. I didn't get paid any more for doing it. And I work exactly the same now. You know, it's about creating a piece of work at the end of the day that I am so happy with that the money doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, like I say, I've got to get paid and make a living, but it's not the overarching important bit for me.
I totally understand that. I think that money doesn't really come. Like, obviously, like you say, the bills have got to be paid, but I don't think money. When you look at like art and commerce, they're totally different.
Oh yes, so you know, I had Rick Rubin, the producer.
Of course, yeah.
He mentioned, he quoted something like that the other week when he was saying when he was working, he never tries to second guess what people want. He's just doing what he wants to do, because the second you start trying to second guess what people might like or buy, it ceases to be art and it becomes commerce. And that's a classic. I love that quote.
That is the truth of everything. I mean, like if you're going to start being led by, you know, your dick or money or whatever, then you've lost it, because you cease to be original or identifiable. And I think that you've completely become identifiable. I've got all this stuff around me right now. I don't even know where to start, Brian, because it's a huge catalogue. But I've only got, obviously, I've got like the things that I have because we've just bought them out of you know, my time listening to music. But each and every one of them is completely identifiable for you. I wanted to talk to you about this one actually, because this has some rumours around it.
Yeah.
One question was them guitars in this shot?
Yeah.
Were they sold to Graham Coxon?
Yeah. I think they were actually. Yeah. Because they weren't Noel's guitars; they were my guitars.
So there's the Strat, and there's it looks like a 335 in the front.
Yeah.
And they were sold to Graham Coxon, because no one was sure when we were speaking about it. It was like, well, I heard they were sold to Graham Coxon.
Let's think about this now. They weren't mine. They weren't mine. They belonged to a band I was working with at the time called Left Hand. Was it? When was this? 98. No, it'd have been before that, wouldn't it? I remember I saw Graham Coxon a Rickenbacker bass that I had, and he might have bought them as well. I can't remember. Yeah, I think he did.
Excellent. So we cleared that one up.
Go on. Yeah.
And what's his name? I'll come back to this. I'm sure there's a guy in this photograph, because I know it's a very comical shot, because obviously the child is teaching the.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Was your parents in this shot, by the way?
Yes, my dad. He's got the bald head and he's got his hand up, a cigarette behind his ear.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And my mother is at the front of him, to the left, turning round. She's got blonde hair right at the very front.
Yeah. Because they did feature in a lot of your works, didn't they? 3
Oasis sleeves. They both passed away now, unfortunately. But my dad, relatively recently, at the age of 95. They were on 3 Oasis sleeves, several Verve sleeves. Yeah, loads of stuff. Yeah.
They're on this sleeve.
Yeah, my dad pushing the wheelbarrow and my mother mopping the platform.
And am I right to think that that's one of your favourite single sleeves you've ever done?
Yeah, definitely. Just let me plug that in. Certainly, probably my favourite Oasis sleeve of all of them that I did.
Is it for any reason at all?
I just think it looks great. I think it looks great, and it's. I'm kind of working on a similar job at the minute that I can't really go into, but when I did that sleeve, Noel Gallagher gave me the lyrics to the song, and he said he wanted all the lyrics as much as possible illustrated in one image.
Of course.
And I thought, yeah, like you do, you know, I thought, fucking hell, no pressure there then. So all the bits of that picture are the lyrics of the song. She's got dirty dishes on the brain, the sink is full of fishes, all the rest of it. So that was a big job, that. And I just think it came out really, really well.
Because I think your dad made the wheelbarrow with the sink, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He welded it together into an old fucking.
Where did that end up? Let me just
Oh
put this there.
no, I don't know. I do not know. I wish I still had that. I have no idea where that went.
Have you ever kept any artifacts from any of your?
Yeah, I do nowadays, having learnt my lesson from back then, to be honest. Yeah, but what have I got? Yeah, I've still got the jacket that I wore on the cover of Morning Glory. What else have I got? I've got all kinds of things. Yeah.
I just remembered this shot, like we just were speaking about.
Well,
Is it true that Mick Whitnell was in the front?
no, I don't think he was.
He wasn't.
I don't think so. I don't think he's on that. No.
Have you ever heard that rumor before?
No, never, never.
I heard that Mick Whitnell was there, but
Who told you that? Who told you that, Mick?
no, Mick didn't tell me that. A friend that
No, he wasn't. He definitely wasn't. I would not have forgotten Mick being there. Trust me. Yeah.
well, that's cleared up. I was just going to ask you as well. There's another thing I wanted to ask because I wasn't too sure. And now we're going to go back a few years because this is a VHS.
Go on. Oh, yeah. I did that.
I was going to ask, was you involved in the making of this sleeve?
Yeah, I did it, yeah.
For the video?
Yeah, I did that.
I wasn't too sure.
I'm in the video as well. There's a bit when Richard and Kate get off the bus in Detroit and are walking from the tour bus to the venue. I'm walking across the street in Detroit with them.
Fantastic. I mean, I can't find that anywhere. I mean, I got that back in the day, but that's only videos from 96 to 98, isn't it?
It's just the American tour. It's pretty much just that tour, 97, wasn't it? Isn't that it?
Well, it says it's the Verve videos 96 to 98.
Right, well, what it is on there will be the actual videos for some songs, but the mainstay of it is filmed on tour in 97, traveling around America. But I went on tour with them.
I'm sure there's a great clip in there with, I think Richard's wearing like a Rolling Stones shirt and he's doing The Drugs Don't Work, like just on acoustic. I'm sure that's in there.
Yeah, that was that bizarre period when Nick left and they got Tongi in to replace him, and they did a load of demos down at Rockfield, demoing urban hymns basically without Nick McCabe. That's what all that is.
Fantastic. I mean, I love Nick. I've never understood, obviously, the relationship between Richard and Nick, because the Verve are like in my top 3 bands of all time. I love them. I super love them, you know, and I don't really know why they can ever make it work. I mean, was you ever? I don't know. Did you feel a little bit different about the Verve later on in life? But you know, when they got back together for the 4th album, how did that feel?
Well, you know, I mean, I wasn't involved obviously by that point. This so often happens, doesn't it? That well, they clearly, you know, I mean, I don't think I'm not talking out of school here. They got back together for the money, you know, and as far as I'm aware, not as far as I'm aware, I know for a fact because I was there. I went to see him in Barcelona. One hell of a gig, actually. One hell of a weekend. On the same bill was Sex Pistols, Ian Brown, Primal Scream, and the Verve.
Fantastic. Jesus Christ.
Can you imagine? Right. And this was quite a while ago. So I was smashed. And it was, anyway, I'm backstage after the gig. I'm like, fucking hell, lads, that was amazing. I'm in the dressing room. Where's Richard? Oh, no, Richard has his own dressing room. He basically, there was two separate touring entities. After the gig, he got straight in the car and went to Madrid, the next gig, and the bands, you know what I mean? So it wasn't the Verve as we knew it. So.
Have you spoke to Richard recently at all?
No. Not spoke to Richard for donkey's years, actually. Not that we ever fell out or anything, but, you know.
Have you never reached out and said, like, you know?
No. No. It's, you know, it's like, it's a long time. This was like 30 years ago, really, when we were working together.
But you're an important part of the whole story as well.
But the Verve aren't going anymore, though, are they? You know, I've never worked with Richard on a solo basis ever. It was always a Verve thing.
But he got you the gig, didn't he?
I mean,
he got you the gig.
Well, yes. He sort of, yeah. But then again, that was mad. That I mean, I went to London as a wet behind the ears newbie, and I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why Virgin had a problem with it. You know, because if you think about it, they just spent a fortune signing this band and developing them and all the rest of it, and put them in the studio. And they had this London agency lined up to do the artwork. And then Richard drops the fucking bombshell that he wants this guy to do it who's met at a party in Wigan, who's just done some sleeves for a couple of bands from Manchester that nobody's ever heard of. They were horrified. And I went down to have this meeting and had this little thumbnail sketch. And because I'd never had a job, I went straight out of college. So, you know, I didn't know anything about presentation techniques or anything. So I'm in this meeting and, you know, they were just like, what the fuck? How have we got here? But I remember after we shot that first sleeve, which was All in the Mind in Wigan Park, walking into Virgin Records with the actual print of the front sleeve, vindicated, right? I thought, they can't argue with this. I went in there and I said, there you go. Because they just didn't want to take the risk because I'd never done it before. But yeah, I was vindicated. And after that, I did everything they ever released other than that fourth business.
No, that's what sort of... it shocked me. I thought when they come back for fourth, I thought, where's Brian?
Yeah, because me too, to be honest, and I was gutted, but you know, there it is.
I have a couple of covers. Well, I've got loads of covers here, but this is superior. Like I remember getting this. It's incredible. She's the superstar.
Oh yeah.
And then it's kind of reiterated with This Is Music.
Yeah. So
was that the idea behind? Like, it's literally the same. Was that the idea behind?
The same shoot. The This Is Music is just an outtake from the She's a Superstar session. That's it. We didn't do it twice. That was the same day. That was just before it went dark.
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
And I had nothing to do with that. That This Is Music. They did that after. They just put that together themselves, Virgin.
Really?
Yeah.
What? And then that's plagiarism, surely, for your art?
Plagiarism. They just used an outtake from the original session that they own the copyright to. Simple as that.
Oh, what, from like the contact sheet or anything like that?
Yeah, it was. It's not like they did it again or there's another shoot. That's just an outtake from the shoot that we did. I think it's a bit lazy, to be honest. Had they got me to do it, I wouldn't have done that. I'd have done something different. I'd have done something new. You know,
of course. This one I love, like, because it's super early Verve as well. Which I mean, I love, like Storm in Heaven. I always talk about Storm in Heaven being one of the greatest albums of all time ever, yeah. And not just because of the music, but because of the artwork as well. Because like the gatefold is, like you say, it's a journey of life. Yeah. I always say you cannot listen to that album in the daytime. You have to listen to it like...
It's an amazing record. I've not listened to it for a while, but it's an incredible record.
You have to like listen to it in a stratospheric way. But this record sleeve as well, it's really compelling to me. I love it.
Yeah.
Gravity Grave.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Like, so you've not kept any of this stuff? Like,
I've got that picture frame, that little picture frame, that gilt edge picture frame. I've still got that, and that blue poison bottle. I still have that as well.
Oh, you do have it. Yeah. So there are artifacts from Microdot still hanging about.
Yeah. Here's another one. It says Verve in the sand.
Yeah.
I bought those letters off a photographer who had a studio in the same building as me, and he got them off of an old Printworks in Manchester. But he didn't have any letter V's. So those two V's is a letter M cut in half.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Shit, I can see that.
Yeah, that's a letter M cut in half.
I'm just getting all the good stuff now, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah. You see, now you know that, you're never looking at the same again because that's the letter M in two halves, that now.
This is why we do what we do. It's so fantastic, and thank you. I was going to ask you, So you went and done some videos for some bands like Super Furry Animals, and you did say that you was going to potentially do the video for Whatever with Oasis.
Yeah.
What would you have done?
What would I have done? You see, it's difficult now, isn't it? Because you look back on that now, and it's almost like a Hard Day's Night, isn't it? That now, it's them in black and white acting the G.O.A.T in the studio, and it's classic now because it's 1994 Oasis, peak Oasis. They all look young, they all look great. But at the time, again, I thought that was a weak effort. What would I'd have done something far more psychedelic. But I never developed any ideas because I never got the chance. I never got the chance because I'd never done it before. Back to that argument. It's easier to get into doing a record sleeve because you could just do one image. In the end, it was McGee that gave me the chance to do the videos. Being the vision.
I love Alan. Alan is such a renegade. He's brilliant. I mean, I've had him on 2 or 3 times, even just on the off chance when we spoke about Cult Heroes with Now and I. And I just love his attitude to life, which is like, oh, fuck it, we'll just do it. It's cool. And creation does, expel that.
Yeah.
So if you look back right now, what would you have done? I know I've just asked you, but did you have anything in mind? Because before you were saying that with these companies and stuff, nothing was really off the cuff because no one could be out their mind because nothing would have got done. Mm. So if you had an idea, was there any idea for what you might have done for that video?
For Whatever?
Yeah.
I probably, do you know what? I never got that far into it because I knew I wasn't going to end up doing it. So I just remember thinking, fucking hell, is that it? I wish I could have done it. But no, like I said, I didn't spend any time developing any ideas because I knew it wasn't going to happen.
You were going to do an album cover or whatever that I heard before, where you was going to buy a house and explode it for Oasis.
Well, that was towards the end of Oasis when money was no object. Well, towards the end of my involvement with Oasis, i.e. the 90s, when money was no object. It was one idea that I had. I'm still fascinated by that. You get these super high speed cameras.
Yeah.
There's a YouTube channel called the Slow Mo Guys. Have you seen it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They just fucking shoot things and blow things up, and they're basically, because they've got these. They're far more advanced now. They can shoot something fucking ridiculous, like 1 million frames a second. So you've got whatever it is blowing up, but it's just your eye can never see it, and it's that fascinated me. And the reason I suggested that to him was a mate of mine who was a massive Oasis fan at the time used to work for ICI, and he was involved in manufacturing explosives. Right?
Amazing.
Just one night in the pub, hey, Knocker, you work for ICI, you can get your hands on some Semtex.
This is the 90s. This is the bloody 90s again.
And
lunatics everywhere.
You could buy a house, in Wigan, needed repair for next to nothing back then, literally for next to nothing. So I thought we could probably have. In fact, we could have done this. We could have done this cheaper than what it cost to do the Be Here Now sleeve, right? I wasn't suggesting we were going to do this for Be Here Now, but we spent that much money on it. We could easily have done it. But there's just the prospect of, I think it was Liam that poo-pooed it. Not that he would have made the final decision anyway. It was like, you fucking what? His exact words to me were, you fucking what, Cannon? You want me to buy an house so you can fucking blow it up? Fuck off. That's exactly how it went.
I thought he would have been on board for that. I'd have been like, yeah, fucking blow
I think it was just the cost of the house that put him off. But no, that never happened. One day I might do it. But mind you, the price of property these days is kind of prohibitive now, isn't it? But
what was it going to be for? Because obviously
I don't know
in mind.
Do you know what? I didn't normally work like that. I only ever worked through commissions. I only ever worked. The whole point to what I do is I come up with a specific idea to a specific track or a specific album. But that is just the one I had in the bank, if you like. What can we do with this idea? Which is, I didn't normally work that way around. But I just thought, I still haven't done it. But I think that you know, it's kind of gone now, hasn't it? Because you can. It's not that remarkable because you can see it. It's all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, there's YouTube channels doing it. So if I did something, yeah. So what? I saw it on YouTube last night. It's nothing remarkable. Whereas back then, it would have been like, fucking hell, have you seen that new Oasis sleeve? They blew an house up.
I was going to say that, like, back in, obviously we keep going on about like back in the 90s, what if happened, and that's a remarkable idea. I would love to see it, especially in a BRIAN Cannon shot.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be, because it'd just be incredible.
It would. Have you ever heard of a band called Swell Maps?
No, I haven't.
There's an album of those which I bought. I like them anyway, but I bought it just for the cover, and it's a house on fire, and that's kind of where I got the idea from. But I just thought, would it be amazing? In fact, I saw one. It was that image and an image of a car bomb going off in Belfast. Now, it wasn't freeze frame, but you could literally see the car like in bits expanding out as the bomb went off. So they literally took this picture just as it went off. And I just thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you could get one of these? So every little fragment of glass was actually in focus and sharp and, you know, just boom. But it never happened.
Talking about car bombs,
yeah.
Let's go back to Storm in Heaven, where you actually set a car on fire and nearly set someone else on fire.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. That car, it was a Citroen.
The Citroen, yeah.
Citroen, which I bought from a scrapyard in Wigan for about 50 quid or something like that. And it was obviously a non-runner. No, sorry. It was an MOT failure, but it still ran. Right. And I drove via my dad's house to the shoot in it. And my dad, oh, have you got a new car? I'm like, no, we're going to set fire to it. And he went, you what? He says, yeah, we're going to drive it up to Billings at this place.
Fucking brilliant.
We're going to set fire. And he couldn't believe it. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, Dad, because my dad didn't drive. He never drove my dad. He never passed his test. He couldn't get his head around the fact that because it wasn't MOT'd, right, to get it in a roadworthy state would cost more than the car was fucking worth. So I was like, no, Dad, you're missing the point here. It's not worth anything. It's not worth a carrot. We're going to go and set fire to it. And we did. And what we did was, there's a guy called James Frodsham, right? And it was his dad's house that in the garden where we set fire to it, right? And James is a farrier. You know, a farrier he shoes horses, right? So he was dead handy, and he said, "You know what you're going to have to do here? You're going to have to drill holes in the petrol tank and flush it through with water because if there's any petrol left in it, it could explode and all the rest of it." So we went to great lengths to do this as safe as we could, but in the end, we doused it with petrol, especially the interior. And then Dave Halliwell, who was the band's manager, he got this long pole with a rag lashed to the end of it. I mean, we were just lunatics. Can you imagine? It's not like these days you see these shoots. You've got some guy with a clipboard over here. There's an ambulance waiting by. You've got 10 people with fire extinguishers, health and safety up to the fucking tash. Just us nutters from Wigan setting fire to things and photographing it.
That's what I love. That's what I love.
So Dave's got this long stick, right, with a rag on the end of it, and we pour some petrol on that. So he lights the rag and he's on this stick. And he goes up to the car and he pokes it through this window to set fire to it. But of course, it's explosive, this petrol. It causes this explosion, and the explosion's only got one way to go, out the window that he stood next to. So it blows him clean off his feet, sets all his hair on fire. Now, I knew we only got one shot at this because we've got one car and it's on fire by this point. And I'm like, fuck him, he'll be all right. Get the shot, shoot it. And we did, and it looked amazing. And Dave recovered and all his hair grew back. So all was well.
That is exactly what I wanted, Brian, to hear. It's the 90s were...
And this was really early 90s. This was 92 before the 90s began, really. I mean, it could be argued that the 90s became the 90s in 1994 when Definitely Maybe came out. Because before that, it was a bit shoegazy and a bit grungy, and it wasn't like this gung-go era that we all know it was. But so yeah, this early doors 90s. It
was built by you lot. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, it was built by your generation of people that were knocking about in the 70s with toffo bars and rally choppers and, you know, just having fun. You know, there was no real, you know, it was carefree. So all these people that when they got into the industry and what if happened, it was just chaos. It was great. That's what I love. That's what I love about all of that sort of stuff. And I think that your artwork, it defines that. I mean, everything. Like you look at it and go, how the fucking hell? Like even something like this, like all around the world.
Yeah.
You're taking cranes to beaches.
Well,
You know, you're welding
yeah.
sinks to wheelbarrows. You're just doing all sorts of mad stuff. Like it's incredible. I spoke to you just a little while ago about the giveaway that I'll do for this show. Could you tell us a little bit more about each one of these images?
Yeah.
So I'll give away 2 of your prints I brought from Microdot a long time ago, and I've had them stashed away.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't need to give yours away. I'll send you a couple of them so you can still keep them.
Brian, that is fantastic. You don't have to do that. I can give these away.
No, you don't have to give them away. I'll send you a couple. I'll send you a couple.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. That one there that you've got in your hands is an outtake. What's it? It's a location shot of the sleeve for Oasis Don't Look Back in Anger before the flowers were applied to the scene. So that,
which is here.
Exactly. So that is all Oasis actual equipment that was brought in for the day. And we did have an idea that we were going to shoot it from atop a scaffolding gantry. And that's what I've shot through there. That's what you can see. So that was the scene before the flowers were all applied. And that was a Beatle. I mean, I presume you're a Beatle fan with the GlassOnion reference.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a Beatle reference there because they don't look back.
To do with Ringo, isn't it?
Yeah. When he left the band. I mean, the band toward the end they were all leaving every 5 minutes, weren't they? But Ringo left, and when he came back, George Harrison had smothered his drum kit in flowers so that's where that idea came from. So yeah,
didn't you have to dye the carnations blue because you can't get them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was Meg Matthews who was Noel's wife at the time. She was great at organising all this stuff, and she used to thrive in it. She basically used to organise party for all these sort of it girl crowd, all that business, and so she was really hands-on at getting stuff done that we wouldn't have had. So she ordered and had delivered 10,000 fucking carnations from Holland.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucking nuts, isn't it? Now, we're running red, white and blue, obviously, for the British connotation. And you don't get blue carnations. So we got 3,000 red ones and 6,000 odd white ones. And we had a work experience student dip in half of the white ones in blue ink. So yeah, red, white, and blue. Yeah.
Was that just like normal blue ink for fountain pens? Or?
I guess so, yeah. I don't think we went and got any carnation ink or any specialised gear or anything. We just, got some.
Did you have any of them left? Because I saw that
yes.
Brian Garcia had some.
I found 4 pressed in a book that I knew I had, but I lost them for about 20 years, and I found them recently. And
amazing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they're still. Yeah, I mean, what an artifact. Yeah.
Are you going to frame them, put them up in one of the shops?
Probably not in the shop. Certainly in the. I would certainly get them framed. But yeah, I found it's remarkable. They've been sat in this book pressed for 30 years. Amazing.
And I've got this shot here.
Yep.
Which was from.
Do you know what I mean? Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
With my dad again with the tash. You can see him in the background now.
Yes.
And
this is an outtake shot from the contact sheet, I would assume.
No, that was no, because they were all black and white. That was a colour shot that I took separately, and it's the only shot that you can see all elements. Because the whole point to that sleeve was, if you've got the CD there in your hand, it's based on the fact that at that time Oasis, there was mania. They just were, wherever Oasis went, chaos broke out. And I just thought, this is just bonkers, this now. So it's kind of the message behind the sleeve is it's a warning against worshipping false gods. So if you look at the front cover,
yeah,
all of Oasis stood there surrounded by a crowd. And for once, not one single person in the crowd is looking at any Oasis member. So you think, what are they all looking at then? So you turn the sleeve over, on the back, you've got my mate Mick.
And out the window, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you look at that print there, you can see it, he's in the shot, the colour print you just had. Yeah, but if you look on the picture, the print you've got, you can actually see him poking out the window at the top of the building. Have you noticed that?
Incredible. Let's just have another look. Yeah,
We never noticed that.
there he is.
Yeah, the Mick he's a fucking lunatic. He was a can maker at Heinz factory in Wigan, and me and him we went on sort of insane off the beaten track trips to places like Sri Lanka and all got up to all kinds of shenanigans. But he's a top bloke, is Mick. So anyway, so nobody's looking at the band. What are the band looking at? So you look up, you look on the back sleeve, and you see Mick. Then if you look on the inside, you see his point of view, which is down on the crowd. Or is that just on the vinyl only? And you can see, and it's a bit like that picture of, yeah, there you go. It's a bit like that picture of the Beatles next to the fence where you can see them all, but nobody, you always miss Ringo. Do you know the one I mean? On the Blue album, is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's like all Oasis are in that shot there, but can you pick them all out?
There must be some sort of continuity behind all your thoughts for every single one of these.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, isn't it? Everyone has got sort of some meaning or message. They're not just like random pictures picked to, just that'll do. Sort of. I mean, I think it's a shame though, because unfortunately, it's kind of turned full circle. All the madness of the 90s has gone. The creative freedom has gone. And because there's not as much money knocking about within the industry because nobody sells records anymore, ironically, it's more money focused. So you tend to find that major labels, they haven't got any budget to spend on anything like artwork. And anything they do spend money on, it's so conservative because nobody wants to take any risks because there's, well, I've got a frozen screen here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can still hear you. I'll get you back.
Yeah. So it's a shame. I think I don't want to crack on like my granddad. Oh, it was better when I was a lad, but I think
it was.
I think it was better in the 90s.
It was. Nothing ever gets better, Brian. I was just going to just ask you: was there any person that you've worked with or any job that you've done where it was like the maddest thing ever, and you've thought, I'm not going to fucking work with them again?
No, on the whole, we were madder than the bands. I think, the Microdot posse, we were legendary. That, we were just as bonkers as the bands themselves. So no. And do you know what? My lot and most of the bands I work with, nobody was ever involved in what I call seriously heavy drugs. And drugs weren't that big. It's massively overplayed, this drug thing, massively. What I remember most of the 90s, and this includes Oasis, I mean, all right, there was some cocaine knocking about. I've never been a big cocaine fan, despite what some people might say. I've obviously done it, I admit that, but I've never been a big fan. It was all about boozing, and I just remember it being a lot of drinking going on and a lot of laughing going on. That was it for me. And no, there was nobody who I thought, fucking hell, they're too mad to work with, because it just wasn't. I mean, you can only go so berserk until you end up in hospital or in rehab, and none of us died. None of us wound up in hospital. We were just having a laugh, and it never went too far. And no, I never thought anybody was that mad that we couldn't work with them. I think a lot of people thought we were that mad they couldn't work with us, but not the.
I've just done an interview with Ondi and David Simona I'm not sure if you are familiar with the Brian Jonestown Massacre and the Dandy Warhols.
Yeah.
And they've done the Dig documentary.
Yeah.
So they've just brought out Dig 20. It's going to be shown in cinemas on 25th of March, one night only in the UK.
Really?
So I done the interview the other day with them, and as we're talking about drugs, like the Brian Jonestown Massacre, they just went full throttle with that. Yeah. And obviously with Dig, you can see that.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, in the UK, like you said, I think that it's played up a lot, isn't it? It's just like, and it's a very famous tidbit that you always say. If people were out of their mind, none of this would have happened.
Exactly. It's impossible. It would have, right. I'll put it this way, right? What we got up to back then was no more mad than what a bunch of working class kids, working class lads, whatever job they might be doing, you know, you get a lot of lads who work on a building site in Barnsley on a weekend. It's just the same because, like I say, if you're going more berserk than that, you end up dead. You know,
Absolutely.
you know. I would have thought that. I think right. Let's put it this way: the drugs that we were taking were probably of better quality because we were supplied by. You know, they were because we got them off people who were supplied to fucking rock stars, basically. Not that we were, but we were hanging around with them. So, but there's, you know, like I say, we just, it was, I mean, looking at the band, we all just, I don't know anybody, there's nobody, I can't get my words out here. Drugs were never a problem insofar as it wasn't an addiction thing. It was always, if there was any drugs involved, it was always a recreational thing anyway. You know, it's not like you'd wake up on a Tuesday morning and be hammering the fucking beak or anything like that, you know.
No.
Because if you did that, you wouldn't have got anything done. And you just need to look back at the body of work that we left behind, you know.
Superior. It is superior. Without me blowing smoke up your ass, everything that you've done, Brian, is completely superior. And you've got like a whole legacy behind. I mean, as we come to the close to the interview, there's a few things I want to ask. One of the most important things I want to ask you, especially as an artist yourself, photographer, illustrator, and a graphic designer, do you think, you know, AI is going to really ruin all of this?
No, because all AI is, it's just another tool, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure people would have said this when Photoshop first came out. There's no substitute for ideas, and I don't think we're at that stage yet. Well, it's not really AI, is it? The definition for me of AI is when computers are thinking for themselves. They still need to be prompted by humans, right? It's just like an advanced form of computer-generated imagery, which is not artificial intelligence. That term gets bandied about far too often, right? So until computers or digital entities are actually thinking for us, no, it's not going to change anything because, like I've said, I do a lot of lecturing at colleges and whatever, and you know, the same thing was said about computers when they came along. And my argument is, if you're no good in the first place, all a computer does is help you make shit faster. You know, simple as that. And it's the same with this AI that's not even AI anyway. It's just like computer generated imagery. It just makes people lazy. You know, I'm still of the opinion that, well, I can only speak for myself because this is just the way I do stuff. I'm quite sure I could do a whole load of stuff that I would want to do via AI or computer generated imagery. But I like getting out up mountains, setting things on fire, smashing things up, whatever it might be, making things, photographing them. That's exactly the way I work because I think it's a good laugh. And I think that's the way, I think too many people, I mean, don't get me wrong, I look at, I'm just as on this caper scrolling like anybody else's, but I like getting out, getting my hands dirty and creating things the old way. And I think, I always encourage young students to do the same as well, because I think we're just getting too obsessed with what computers can do. And I think it makes people lazy. And until computers truly are artificial intelligence, there's no substitute for ideas and putting those ideas into motion. So no, it doesn't worry me.
Perfect. I mean, I've never heard that actually. Usually, a lot of creators are very fearful of it. So it's really refreshing for you to go.
Fearful of what? I don't know what you mean. I don't get it. Fearful of what?
Well, they're fearful of like talentless people being able to become creators.
Nonsense.
Stuff like that.
No. What they mean is, I can imagine the graphic design industry taking a massive knock when people realise they don't need to employ graphic designers. But I never bought into any of that industry bullshit in the first place. You know, I've always operated on the periphery outside of it. Never entered any of these awards. Never won any awards. Could never enter them. You know, just I don't know. We never used to knock about with other design agents. We used to hang about with the bands, the people we worked with. That was where we were at, you know.
Yeah.
It's backslapping industry bullshit. I've no time for anyway. So they get what they deserve. Then, you know, if they're not creative enough to ride this storm of this, you know, because it infuriates me. It always has done, and that's why I have nothing to do with any of it. That it's like any of these industries whereby they create their own jargon to justify their own salary and all that kind of nonsense. You know what I mean? And any designer who can't get work because of AI deserves to be out of a job.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I do agree with that, and that is so refreshing. I'm just going to do a quick fire little questions before we come off. Will you? I know we've spoke about this, but when you do, I don't know. You're saying you're slowing down. Will you do a book and a documentary? Because I think it is super important for people to be inspired. Because you're a super inspiring person. You've created Microdot, and it's so important to people. I think people would like to hear your story, and I think people would like to see everything, how you curate it.
I would love to do it, and hopefully I will do one day. The documentary, I'd be more interested in writing a book. I mean, I can write. I'm quite good at writing actually, but it's just I don't find it easy. I find it difficult. You know what I mean? And if I was to do a film documentary, I'm a massive control freak. You know what I mean? I'm a nightmare to work with. It's about my stuff, so I'd have to be totally hands on with it. But yeah, I'd love to do it really, but I just haven't had time. It's a big job to do it properly as well. A big job.
Get the ball rolling, Brian. Well, no, get the ball rolling.
It kind of is, actually. I hinted at that before. It kind of is. There's nothing in place, but hopefully it will happen. And yeah, I think it's an interesting story. It's like it's a rags to, well, not I say rags to riches. I'm not rich, but you know, it's a story of a young kid who come from absolutely nowhere, nothing, and basically did all this work for all these amazing bands, and he's still doing it.
This is the thing, Brian. When you're dead and gone one day, you're going to leave a legacy behind that you'll never be forgotten, and everyone can hope for that. Like we all are existing on this planet and hope we could change something, and I think you have with what you've left.
Completely. So yeah, I'd love to do, like I said, there is something in motion at the moment, but I've been that busy doing all sorts of other stuff. I've just not had time to think about it really.
Have you ever done a magazine cover?
We did the Oasis magazine back in the 90s, but you mean designed one or appeared?
Yeah, like not just your image being on the front, but like design like magazine covers or anything like that, because that's so important. Like magazines back in the day, like because I'm doing this stuff with James Brown as well. It really does accentuate the fact that in that time of no social media, like you always say, Nebworth was the great last gathering because of obviously there's nothing like that. And you
the mad thing about Nebworth and no social media, this is a fucking mind-blowing statistic fact. This, you know, John Squire came on stage on the first night. The crowd the second night, which was only 24 hours later, didn't know about it.
It's mind-blowing that.
Get your head around that. The crowd on the second night at Nebworth was surprised when John Squire came on stage because he didn't know about the night before. How would they have done? You know?
It's beautiful. Like when you look at it like that, that's the beauty of life back then.
Yeah.
So everything's so like instant these days. Yeah. There's like instant gratification. There's instant news. There's like everything. Like everyone puts rest in peace as soon as like someone dies, and it's just like, well, Jesus, like you didn't get through the grapevine. It was like this new social media thing. And this is as we move on, but like I was saying about your artwork and stuff like that, it would be really great for you to leave like documentary as well, because the hypnosis one's fantastic. Yeah. But I think yours would just be as great. You know what I mean? It's a really incredible thing, because one day when you're not here, all we're gonna have, like every household has got What's the story? Or like all of these. If you're anybody, you've got this.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
Especially this. You know, you have it. You just have BRIAN CANNON artwork in your house, even if you don't know about it.
Yeah.
Like one day when you're dead and gone, you must be really proud to know that most of the UK or most of the world has part of your artwork in their house.
It's amazing. I still get a buzz off it, you know. And the day I stop buzzing off it is the day I stop doing it. So I can't see myself stopping doing it. So yeah.
Your handwriting becomes super famous with Definitely Maybe.
Well, I did it again. I actually, when Liam played at the O2 last year, the O2 contacted me, rang Jill, my missus. We worked together, so she took the call. I thought it was a wind up. I still think that all this is a wind up. People, Jill says, Brian, it's the O2 in London on the phone. They want you to write out some of Liam's sayings and they're going to pay you a load of money to do it. Fuck off. Who is it? It must be somebody I know winding me up, but it wasn't. It was true. And all outside the gig, it was the best bit of the gig, I thought. Outside the gig on these huge billboards was my handwriting in Liam's slogans, like all the daft things that he says. So
yeah, I've seen him, and I've seen a lot of my friends and a lot of my followers that were stood in front of them and took photos.
It's fucking great, isn't it? Yeah. But do you see what I mean? That was a pure analog idea that somebody at they just doesn't happen that anymore. You know, I was made up that they came up with that idea and they actioned it and they put it up there and everybody loved it. You know what I mean? It was a real talking point, like you said. Everybody had the picture took in front of it. That was a great weekend. That I really enjoyed it.
You're part of the zeitgeist. You're part of capturing lightning in a bottle for millions of people that still to this day enjoy that part of life and that moment. And you should be super proud of that.
I am, and I enjoyed doing it as much as people enjoy having it as well. And you know, and it would mean nothing to me without people's reactions. You know, it's mega important. I mean, I get emails still to this day from people all over the world saying that they became this or that because they're inspired by me, and I love it. You know, I really do love it because, like I said, I have made some money out of it. Obviously, it's my job, but that's just a byproduct. That was never the point. So, inspiring people and creating the work was always the point, and you know, I've managed to do both. So yeah, I'm made up.
You're a legend, Brian, and thank you for your time today. Like it's been super, and like it's a super honor to talk to you just about like some of the things. I can't get through it all, but just some of the things. Please, can you just tell me just before we sign off, what is next? I mean, obviously Oasis have got back together.
Yeah.
But what is next for BRIAN CANNON and Microdot in the future? Are you going to be working with other bands? Are you going to be starting a shop in London?
No, that's on the back burner. That I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. What I want to do now is develop brand Microdot, whatever that means, and just doing my own work, client free, no mither, no having to deal with anybody. I think we're at the stage now where I can take for. I've just invested in a lot. I bought this new medium format camera so I can take super high resolution, incredibly detailed images. Bought like a high end G.O.A.T printer so we can print massive prints, just mint quality. We bought a load of bespoke framing gear, got a new member of staff in. So we're talking about making just more high end art, basically. Mainly photography based, or almost entirely photography based, but some silkscreen printing as well. In fact, I'm off to the Mississippi Delta next month. Just a totally self-financed project. My idea being to photograph not so much the birth of rock and roll, but the birth of what gave birth to rock and roll, and go around, you know, the really impoverished parts of the Mississippi Delta, taking photographs of whatever I come across. And
superb.
And then maybe have an exhibition of that, and you know, just doing more of our own stuff and Microdot branded stuff. We're trying to get that going. Just, you know, just stuff we enjoy doing.
I've got just before we go, I've got two things.
I've got as long as you want, don't worry.
I've just got two things just before we go. do you still speak to Michael Spencer Jones?
No.
So how did that partnership come about, and then how did that just stop? Because that was like obviously a partnership at some point.
It came about, like I said, in the early days, I was a graphic designer, and whenever I needed a photographer, any photography doing, I would hire a photographer in. And I was working with a guy called Ian Tilton. Have you heard of Ian Tilton?
No, I haven't. Sorry.
If you look, the Stone Roses' first album.
Oh yeah.
On the back sleeve, there's a black and white shot of him playing in a studio at Granada TV. Ian took that picture, right? He was He's a big Manchester. Well, he's from Blackpool. He was a big Manchester, and he was my photographer, and I worked with him all the time with the Rap Assassins and Kiss AMC and all that. And he was just away one time when I needed to do a job, and
did he do the Tracy Carman?
Yeah.
He did.
Tracy Carman. No, I took that picture.
You took the photo.
Yeah.
Amazing. What, Rescue Me?
Yeah, I took the picture. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So anyway, Ian was away one time, and Mike. A lot of times, photographers used to show up and show me the books and what have you. Michael showed me his, and he got the gig, and that was it. We worked together for a while, and I stopped working with him towards I think it was 98 or something. It had just run its course, and I just fancied something. I thought I would have a change.
Perfect. And that's fair enough. Do you know what I mean? That's just life.
Yeah, I mean, we'd worked together. We worked together on the first thing we worked together on, me and Michael, was Less Mellow by the Ruthless Rap Assassins, which was 1991.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Rap Assassins, yeah.
That was 91. The last thing we did together would have been just after being, so it's 7 years or so. So, that's quite a while.
That was all sorted out by Greg Wilson, wasn't it? The Rap Assassins.
Yeah.
With your graffiti.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
One thing that's always, it's not bugged me, but one thing that's always like stood out to me with your artwork is the green barcode for Lucky Man.
Brilliant. Well, it's not for Lucky Man, it was for Bittersweet Symphony, actually. See.
It was for Bittersweet, but it's in the Lucky Man video.
It wasn't even for basically what happened was that the green barcode print poster.
I love it, by the way. I think that is so standalone and stand out.
That was a non-commissioned piece. That was my idea, and I took that to Virgin. The Verve had split up, right? And they got back together again. And the first record they put out when they got back together was Bittersweet Symphony. And I thought it'd be good to do sort of, because back then, no internet, obviously, street fly posting campaigns were the way you used to do it. And I thought it'd be great to do this guerrilla campaign whereby just to sort of subliminally announce that the Verve have got back together. And that's the idea. It says the Verve and there's a barcode. The idea being the back on sale again. The back together. That was it. And if you look at the barcode, it's a fictitious barcode that I made up, obviously. But there's always a series of numbers beneath the barcode. If you look at the numbers on that poster, it says 0900, 9 a.m. and the date that Bittersweet Symphony was released.
You're fucking joking. I never knew that.
That's it. And it made its way into the Lucky Man video because Richard liked it so much. He had one framed up and they just put it in there. It's got nothing to do with Lucky Man. It's the numbers on the barcode are the time and date that Bittersweet Symphony was released.
Oh, fucking genius, mate. Honestly, that always stood out to me. I thought, what the fuck's that about? It's like it's a BRIAN Cannon artwork and it's so simplistic and I don't understand it. It was so, it's like an anomaly. Do you know what I mean?
That's because it wasn't for anything. It was like the Verve are back. That was it.
I love that. I always wanted a massive poster just because of obviously the Lucky Man video. I always wanted a huge green barcode.
I've still got an original, actually. I mean, they're very far and few between because they were never sold as merchandise items. They were just printed to be put up in the street, so they're all gone. To find an original one of them, no, God, I wouldn't know where to begin. But I've got one.
Do you remember you actually done, like my friend Justin Herring had this poster of yours, and Justin knew you back in the day. That's where I know this stuff from, master plan and stuff. He was talking about the Dublin Castle back in the day and stuff like that. He actually messaged you about like something that he acquired, and you said that you've got one, but you've never seen many. It was the Bittersweet Symphony. No, sorry. It was Urban Hymns printed on like a mirror sheet.
Yeah.
It was almost like an acetate, like.
Yeah. No, it's printed on, it's like silver foil it's printed on, isn't it?
What was that for?
It's not the sleeve though, it's the picture that's on the label, and it's a picture of the band, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like a mirror image. It's like a mirror.
Just an in-store promo poster, that record store poster.
That's super fucking rare. That, have you still got one?
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah.
Have you any mind to like re-release them at all?
No, I can't. It's copyright stuff like that. You notice anything that I sell on my site, you know, anything with the Oasis logo on, for example, is either an original or it's merchandise I bought from them. And no, Chris Floyd took that picture. He owns the copyright to that picture.
I see. Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Brian. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
My pleasure. And, you know, if you ever need anything in the future, just let me know.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's been like, what a fantastic Saturday night. I mean, I've got all these props around me. I'm feeling supersonic with gin and tonic. And I know we've pulled it forward to get this out. And I was going to do this with you last April, but my internet was really terrible. So thank you so much for your time and coming back to me. I know you're super busy.
No,
I'll be giving away these prints following this interview, and you've given away so much information, and you've completely fulfilled me with everything that I wanted to know, really.
Good. Glad to be of help.
Thank you very much. So this was the Cult of GlassOnion, and this is the Voices of Ceremony, and these are people that change counterculture for so many people, millions of people around the world. I'm so honoured to have you on as a guest. Thank you so much, Brian. And enjoy your Saturday night. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries. Ta-da.
Thanks. Ta, mate.
Ta-da.